Hello class, this is Mr. Manning and this is the Chapter 1 lecture notes on the communication cycle. First, we have the sender. The sender will be in the left portion of your cycle, which you'll see towards the end. If you want to start there and come back here, that would allow you to sort of see where you're going. The sender, again, is the person who sends or delivers an intended message. The next item in the middle top portion of your cycle is the message. We will talk more in a moment about that. And then all the way to the right is the receiver. So here is encoding. Encoding goes in between the sender and the message. The process of encoding is how we deliver the message. So it's the how. Again, it does not change the message itself. For example, if I wanted to tell you that we have lunch at noon today, I could tell you orally, I could send an email, I could write it down on a sheet of paper and throw it towards you. Any of these three things would be delivering the same message, but the encoding or the how would change. Next is the decoding. Decoding is done by the receiver. So with decoding, this is the process of interpreting all of the possible outcomes of the message for the meaning that the receiver needs to get from the sender. Again, the picture does a good job here. So taking all the possible permutations of the information and trying to filter them into what was intended by the sender. As for the message, there's two different types. The first is verbal, and the second is nonverbal. Verbal is words or a language. Nonverbal is anything else. These include appearance, voice, gestures, body movement, eye contact, facial expression, and space or spatial. We'll learn more about nonverbal in Chapter 4, so you don't need to have a lot of examples, just a couple for the test. So far your cycle should look like this. Again, the sender encodes an intended message, which is decoded by the receiver. But again, it's a cycle, not a line, so we're missing something. The thing we're missing is feedback. Feedback can either be positive or negative. Quickly, it's important to note that positive doesn't mean happy and negative doesn't mean sad. Positive feedback means the message was correctly interpreted for the intended meaning by the sender. Negative feedback means that the receiver did not understand the intentional message. So again, if I say something like, "What time is it?" If the receiver says, "What?" then that was negative feedback. If the receiver says, "It's 3:30, and that's the correct time, then there was positive feedback. But again, this is not happy or sad. If I said, "Hey, I'm sorry to tell you this, but when I walked in today, I saw someone keyed your car." If you said, "Great," that would obviously be negative feedback because you did not understand. Whereas if you got really angry and cried or yelled things, then that would be positive feedback. Not happy, but you would have understood the intended message. So far you have the sender who encodes the message, which is decoded by the receiver. If positive feedback is given, we're done. The cycle is complete. However, if negative feedback occurs, we start over. Again, that starting over process is important. Again, if I said, "Hey, there's a fire, we need to leave." If you said, "What?" I don't get to just leave you. I have to then start over because my intended message needs to get to you. So what happens if that intended message isn't occurring? Well, barriers have happened. Those barriers can be any of these 5. Attitudinal, social, educational, cultural, and environmental. I would suggest pausing at this slide to write them down. These are also covered in Chapter 1 of the green text. So here is your completed cycle. And with that, enjoy your reading. Goodbye.